Los Angeles police officers are fighting back against the Defund police movement, staging their own rally this weekend against the city council's decision to slash their budget by $150 million. The officers say the cuts are both demoralizing and a threat to public safety. Joining me now, Robert Harris, director of the Los Angeles Police Protective League, who also has served 20 years with the LAPD. Thank you for being with me today. You know, first I want to start with when you say demoralizing, the morale is important. We've seen across the country in different departments a spike in suicide and you know, a tough nature for being able to recruit people. What's happening inside the department when you say we're going to cut $150 million?
Well, I think it adds to an already depressed environment in which our officers feel like they've been abandoned by city leadership. I think an excellent example of that would be a local councilman, Mike Bonin, who actually ran for re-election on a platform of public safety and increasing the number of officers for the Los Angeles Police Department. And he begged our union to stand with him in that re-election campaign. And then he had the political disingenuous flip-flopping, and now he is one of the leaders in calling for the defunding of the department. And I think that has a real tangible impact on the emotions and the morale of our officers.
Yeah, you know, I want to talk about what happens just on the ground, and we're seeing some things coast to coast. You know, defunding the police. Retired police officers are launching a political action committee, for example, to help elect pro-police candidates. Do you think that that's necessary?
Yeah, I think everything is on the table at this point. I think if we are actually going to move forward and try to find some real solutions that improve police public outcomes, that help to professionalize our profession, we can have those conversations. And the LA Police Protective League has been at the forefront of those discussions in our state. But I think it's important for leaders to behave like leaders and to stop bowing down and doing the flip-flopping that we see just because of bully tactics from some individuals within our communities.
You know, Robert, I am always wanting to have, and I love having you on the program because I know I can ask this question and get a deep answer on it. No one is saying, no one is denying that there aren't some among the ranks, the rank and file, that either need to not be there anymore or never should have been there in the first place, that they are dangerous and we need to root them out. What kinds of avenues do you think we can find? And can you have that conversation and maybe put off any kind of defunding? Like, do groups like yourself, do unions have an ability to say, look, we'll sit at the table, hit pause, and find a way forward?
Absolutely. I think it begins with exercising some extreme ownership over our own profession. And let's call balls and strikes. And the Los Angeles Police Protective League has done that. We released a full national plan when it comes to reform. And I think there are plenty of things that we can do to begin to root out officers who don't have the character or the temperament to be police officers. We've talked about using a national early warning system like we have here in Los Angeles to identify officers who need some mentoring and training before it becomes a problem. We've talked about a database that would keep track of officers who are fired for gross misconduct so they can't be hired by other agencies. And I think the LA Police Protective League and the Los Angeles Police Department have adopted reforms for years now that have really improved the way that we do policing in this city. And I think that we can be a beacon on a national level if you bring rank and file unions like ours to the table to talk about real solutions.
You know, meanwhile, the violence, I'm sure you're seeing this, is surging in New York City. The NYPD is reporting 28 shootings from just over the weekend. That's a 600% increase from the same time last year. And this story is really popping today, Robert. A 1-year-old little boy was shot to death at a barbecue in Brooklyn. They just held an event to recognize his life and to mourn him just about an hour ago. And all of this new video has popped that shows a New York City police officer being put in a headlock as a crowd is cheering, watching all of this amid growing calls to defund the police here in New York City. Your reaction?
Yeah, it sickens me, to be honest, and it's very disheartening. Look, police if we are defunded or if we are removed from some of our communities, the victimization of those communities will only increase. And we're seeing the same thing here in Los Angeles. Our homicides have been up 32% versus last month. Our shooting victims went up 52%. That equates to about 4 Los Angeles citizens being shot every day for the last month. And it is the police officer working in the community, working collaboratively with the community that address some of these violent crime issues. And so I want to move beyond hashtags and slogans, and I want to be at the table to talk about how we can begin to heal, how we can begin to improve our profession and reduce use of force incidents. And there's a way to do it, and we've demonstrated that here in California.
You know, I hear you say that word heal. And I'm always looking for those points of connection in moving forward. And that is such an important word because it really encompasses what the nation has felt since the death of George Floyd. And it encompasses what we are feeling now as cities are really being ripped apart by a collision of ideas and some violence in the center as we try to move forward. I just can't even imagine being that small business owner, that person living close to where this violence is happening and wanting to call 911 and knowing that if you cut the budgets enough, does that get impacted? You talk about safety.
Oh, absolutely. There is no way to cut funding to a law enforcement agency and not have real consequences that comes along with it. Here in Los Angeles, we already have a difficult time meeting our emergency response times. If you begin to cut our budget, the first place that we're going to go is we're going to slow or freeze hiring, which means that we will not be able to hire to our own attrition rates. The Los Angeles Police Department loses about 450 to 500 officers every year. And if we don't maintain our current hiring standards, we will begin to see around 800 officers less over the next 2 years. And so the real question does become, when you need help, when you call 911, who is showing up?
Yeah, and you want as many people from your community. I'm reading so much about how some communities are having to pull and the officers get on the ground. They don't even know the people, the neighborhoods. They're willing to do that job, but there is a disconnect in the beginning. And you want people to feel like they're part of a community from the get-go to attack some of the issues that have brought us to this point in the first place. Citizens feeling like they can trust police, so on and so forth. Robert Harris, it is always great to talk with you, have you on the program today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And as we move forward, I want to have you back.